Alright, classmates. Here's some basic stuff about WinDump. If you guys already know this, then great, but hopefully this can help any of you that don't understand. It's pretty easy once you understand it, but it's kind of tricky to understand in the first part. So, now this is a video specifically about reading a file that's already been written. So like the file that our professor sent us. This isn't about actually listening to a network card. Now, a lot of the principles are the same; they're going to carry over, but they are this is specifically for reading. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is get our files into the same directory. Now, this isn't necessary, but it makes it a whole lot easier, and it's a lot less typing. So you can see that I have here all of my WinDump stuff in the same file. So I just have them in documents, and then school, and then fall 2016, and then see WinDump and WinPractice, the file that was sent, are both right there together. That makes it a little bit easier. It's not necessary, but it does make it easier. So I would definitely suggest doing that. And also these files, these folders, if you can, make them so that there's no spaces. That just makes things a little bit less complicated. Again, you can get around it if there's spaces like up here, but I would keep them with no spaces if you can. Alright, so with that being done, then we need to open up our command prompt. So open up your command prompt. I'm assuming everybody knows how to open up the command prompt, but you can go Windows key R and then CMD, and then hit enter, or you can go into the computer's accessories and it's in there. So open up a command prompt, and then we need to get to wherever the destination of our WinDump is. Now, like I was saying, it's not necessary, but it makes it a lot more easier. So if we go back and look at in here, then see this WinPractice, its file location. If we go and look at its properties, file location is this. It's in C:\users, /owner, /documents, /school. So in a command prompt, you would have to write all of that. You'd have to write users, well, users, owners already there, but you have to write documents, and then school, and then fall 2016, and the actual name of the file, which is WinPractice. You'd have to write all that. So instead of doing that, because that's just going to make for a lot of typing every time we do the command, then we're instead going to, with our command prompt, go to the location, and then it just makes our job a little bit easier. So just follow along. It's pretty simple, but we're going to do a CD, which is change directory, and then we know that it's in documents. At least mine is. Yours may be wherever you decide to put it. Yours may be just right in documents, which is great. If it's a little bit further, you got to do a little bit more work, but we're going to change the directory to documents. So now we see that we're in users, owner, documents, and then we need to go to school. So change directory, school, and then we need to change directory to fall 2016. Now this is where having no space comes in handy, because if there's a space there, it's a little bit more tricky to get into that. So if you have already created the folder, just rename it with no space, and that'll just make your job a little bit easier. Now, if you need to go back a directory, this is just a side note, then it's cd ... and that goes back. And just FYI, these are spaces. Make sure you space in between. Anyway, but cd ... goes back a folder just in case. But fall 2016. Okay, so now we're in the right location. Now we just need to call we need to call our WinDump. So we're going to go WinDump. Now, capitals do not matter. This file is actually, if we look at it, then my file is actually a capital W right here and a capital D. Capitals don't matter, so we don't have to have capitals. I can just type WinDump, that will work. But what you do need is you do need the extension. So .exe. If I try to do this without, and I'll show you in a minute, if you try to do it without the extension, it will not work. You need the extension in there. So windump.exe, and then we're going to do the command R. R is to read from a file. So anytime a file is sent to you that you need to read from, then you're going to do the -R. You're not going to do the -R for if you're listening to a network card, actually, as opposed to reading a file. So windump.exe and -R, and then we just need to tell it what file we're reading from. So we're reading from winpractice.txt. Again, make sure you get the extensions .txt. It's not winpractice. Now, if we do this, we'll see that it starts going through the file. And it's going to read through the file in real time, unless you specifically tell it not to. But it's going to read through it in real time. So, see, we just saw that there was some, it was a UDP packet that went from one address to the other address, and it's telling you the length, and it's going through in real time. So, it just as if there was somebody on the network that was requesting packets. That's how it does it. So it's going through in real time right now. Now it's kind of a long file. I don't really want to wait for it, so I'm going to tell it to stop. And how you do that, just in case you do want to tell it to stop, it's Control-C to tell it to stop. By the way, all this is on a Windows computer. This is, after all, WinDump. So if anybody's trying to do this on a Mac computer, go to a Windows computer. Not that there's anything wrong with Macs, it's just that's what WinDump was made for. So, okay, so Control-C is to stop it, in case you don't want to wait for it to finish doing whatever you had told it to do. Okay, now see, I'm going to show you really quick. If I do WinDump without the extensions, then it's going to say, look, it's going to say there's no such file or directory. There's no such thing as WinDump, there's no such thing as WinPractice. So you've got to make sure that you get those extensions in there. Okay, so so now we can do something like, we can tell it to WinDump, we want it to run, we want it to read from WinPractice. Oh, jeez, see what I did? Okay, so we're going to tell it to read it, but what we want it to do is we want it to specifically pull out a certain protocol. So that being whether you want ICMP or TCP or UDP, whatever protocol you're trying to specifically look at, you're going to do a space, and then you're going to put in your protocol. So if I wanted to do ICMP, now it's going to read through the file again, but it's only going to show me any protocol that's ICMP. It's not going to show me any of the UDPs like we did earlier, or any of the TCPs. So now we see there's all these ICMP echo requests and replies. So I went through the whole file, and those were the only ICMP. So same thing if we do it with TCP. It's going to read through the thing again, and it's going to start pulling out all the TCP packets. Come on, take your time. Alright, so see, start seeing all the TCP packets. Now we can see right here, okay, that is enough, thank you. You can see right here, here are your flags that are set. This is an SYN flag, this is a push flag, and so on and so forth. The flags are right there, the size over here, so on and so forth. There's your the ports and the IP addresses and so on and so forth. Okay? one thing that we can do, which is pretty cool, is if we do one of the things that we can do is say we want to look at all the TCP packets, but we're only concerned about, for whatever reason, TCP packets that are smaller than, let's just say 300. And I believe it's in bytes, but don't hold me on that. So, but anyway, so what we can do is we can tell it, that we want it to run WinDump on this, and we want it to find anything less, so less is the command, less than 300. So it's going to go and it's going to read through, and anything that, see right here, these are the sizes, anything that's less than 300, it's going to find. So now we can specify a protocol, so it's going to find both UDP protocols, ICMP protocols, and TCP protocols. Anything that's less than 300. We can do the exact same thing. But with stuff that's bigger than something. So say we're concerned about everything greater than 100. Do the exact same thing, but it's going to ignore anything smaller, and it's just going to look for stuff that's bigger. So on and so forth. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. Now you can do, say you're not concerned about UDP packets, you're concerned about and see, you can see now why I strongly suggest getting them in the exact same file folder, because otherwise, see, anytime we wanted to type this WinDump, we'd have to do the entire file extension, we'd do our -r, and we'd have to do the entire file extension to the WinPractice as well. So you'd have to type all this every single time. I mean, it gets boring enough just typing these two words over and over again, let alone typing the whole file extension. So that's why I say put them in the same folder. Anyway, so we can tell it now, if we want it to do two commands at the same time, we can do that. We just have to tell it that it's doing multiple commands at the same time. So like, say we're looking at TCP packets, and we want everything that is smaller than 200 or something like that. Okay, so we're going to specify the protocol. We want it to be TCP, and then to get them to work multiple commands at the same time, we just have to type AND. So we're going to say TCP, and we want everything smaller, so less than 200. And it's going to do the same thing as what we've been seeing. It's just going to run through the file again, and it's going to look for all the TCP packets that are smaller than 200. See? Now we can see 144, 144, 140, 00, 140, so on and so forth. So it went through and found anything that was smaller. Then you can do the same thing, say you want to do with greater for whatever reason. Or, as we'll look at next, if you're looking for specific flags or something like that, but you need the flags, you want a specific flag and then you want it to be smaller than something as well. Or if you're looking for a specific port, or a specific destination, or from a certain source. Okay, now looking for flags gets a little bit more tricky. So what we have to do is get our stuff set up. Okay, then we're looking for TCP flags. So remember, UDP, ICMP, they don't use flags, so this is solely for TCP. And we're looking for these flags. Say we're looking for a specific type of flag. Then what we have to do is remember that the flag is set offset of 13 bytes of the header. So what we have to say is we're looking at the TCP protocol. What we want it to do is we want it to go 13 bytes in, and then if it matches our specifications to pull it out. So what it's doing is it's looking at the TCP header, it's going 13 in, and then we're going to tell it that if it equals one of our whatever we decide, then to pull it out. So like for instance, the SYN flag is 2, the FIN flag is 1, the RST flag is 4. I'm going to give you guys a link too that has these so that you don't have to worry about. I'm trying to remember these, but so we're looking for, let's say that we're looking for the S flag. We're looking for this right here. And what we can do is we can say that look at the TCP 13 in, and if it equals 2, which is the S flag, to pull it out. So it's going to go through, and this is going to take a minute because if I remember right, then the only 2 are towards the end. Yep, so it went through and it pulled out the only 2 that are with the S. Now, there happened to be only 2. Now, don't get confused that there was only 2 when we said 2. This is not specifying only pull out 2. This is specifying pull out any of the S flag. Okay, so we can do the same thing with, let's say, the acknowledgement flag, which is, I believe, 16. Double check. Yeah, it's 16. So now we can tell it to go through and pull out any of the acknowledgement flag. Okay? So now this is where it gets handy to be able to do multiple commands at the same time. Is if we're looking for acknowledgement, or we're looking for anything less than 300, and it's going to go through and it's going to find the acknowledgement flag, and it's got to be smaller than 300, which I think all those are smaller than 300, yeah, pretty much. So we got pretty much the exact same. But anyway, so then that's where it comes in handy to be able to do multiple commands at the same time. Okay, so now lastly, just want to look at writing to a file, because sometimes you have to write what you found to a file. So if we go back over here, you can see I have this test. This is just that I've been messing with. I'm going to delete this. So you can see that we're going to create a brand new one. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the, let's say, the TCP, let's say this, the SYN flag. Now, how we tell it to write to a file is we give it the greater than sign, or the less than sign, whatever it is. That one right there. We're going to give it that one, and we're going to tell it the name of the file that we want it to be. So like test. That's the one I've been using, but you can name it whatever you want. Now, the only thing is if you write just test, it'll put it out as just a file. It's got no specification of the type of file, it's just a file. So what we want to do so that we can still read it is we're going to give it the extension again. Remember, extensions are very, very important. So we're going to say to write to the test file. So it's looking for TCP packets with the SYN flag. We want it to write out to this test file.txt. So it's going to go through. Now, when you write it out to a file, it doesn't show you in real time what it's doing. See, just from where I hit enter, then it's just blank, right? So it doesn't show you in real time. You would have to specify. It doesn't show you in real time what it's doing. It just does it for you. So now if we go back over here and look, then we have now this test file that was created, and we look at it, and let's see. So if we look at this test file, then we can see that it's actually the exact same as when we were looking right here for when we did this before. So we looked for the test file flag. That's what was pulled out. And then we see that it pulled it out and wrote it in this test file. And see it's the SYN flag right here. Okay, so you can do that with now when you're doing multiple. Say that was cool, but you wanted to try pulling out the ICMP protocol. Now, if I do test.txt again, what it's going to do, what it's going to do is it's going to overwrite whatever is there. It doesn't ask you, hey, you sure you want to overwrite or anything? You gave it the command, it's going to overwrite it. So now it just went through. And if we go back and look, then it just went through. And now this test file, if we open it, now instead of those two TCP packets that had the SYN flag, now we got a bunch of these ICMP echo requests again, just like we saw earlier. Okay. Other than that, I think that was pretty much all I was going to show. I'm going to put either I'll send it in the email when I send out the link to this video, or I'll probably put it in the link description as well. I'll send you a website that has some commands on it. Now they're a little bit difficult to understand to some extent, but on that show you how to do, like if you're looking for a specific port, or if you're looking for a destination or source address. So like our professor said, just play around with it and just do a bunch of different things and just try it out and try those different commands out and try doing multiple commands together and see what works and what doesn't work. It's pretty actually interesting to kind of look to just mess around with it and see. Like we saw, if you get an error, then it just just says, hey, we didn't recognize what in the world you were trying to say. So you just try it again, slightly different, and so yeah, just play around with it a little bit. The link that I have has several different commands. Try looking for a specific port. Try looking for destination addresses and so on and so forth. And just mess around with it a little bit. But I hope that helped. If it didn't, then I don't know what to tell you. Good luck. You're probably dealing with more advanced stuff than me. So anyway, hopefully we get through the rest of the semester. Good luck.